Hey, blessings family. Hope you're doing well. This is Zion. I just want to share something with you. But first, just do me a huge favor if you can. Just like this video, share this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to this video. It would be a great help. Hope you're doing well today. I'm reading this book by Michelle E. Martin, who is the author of Introduction to Human Services, a course that I'm actually taking this semester. And she says something very profound in chapter 6, dealing with adolescent behavior, anything from acting out, um, conduct disorder, which is clinically noted as CD, um, suicide, which is on the other spectrum, depression, anxiety, anorexia, and bulimia. She deals with those who come in contact with the criminal justice system. And so she talks about, from a mental and emotional standpoint, what does this mean as it relates to trauma that is the culprit of all of this, and also grief or loss, this acting out, this type of behavior. But she says something very profound. I want to talk about this very briefly and connect it to a biblical truth, obviously, because that's what I do. And so that we can gain something from this, even though she's talking about adolescent, the youth. She says that most developmental theorists agree that adolescence is a time of searching for one's identity and developing a sense of autonomy. Trying on different selves is a common mental and behavioral activity of adolescents who are in the process of developing an eternally anchored sense of who they are, rather than defining themselves by what others think or expect of them. So, in essence, adolescence is the bridge between childhood and adulthood. It is the bridge between childhood and adulthood. What happens when that bridge is damaged? What happened when that bridge is damaged to prohibit one from crossing over into the other side? Now, a bridge is very important for many different reasons. Obviously, we have them, regardless if it's the London Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, or whatever type of bridge that's in your city, your municipality. But it is not just a vehicle of transportation, but also it connects one city to another, one county to another, one state to another, or one country to another. So it is a traveling mechanism that's very important, that connects you from your now to your later, from your present or your past to your future. And so it's very necessary. But when that bridge is damaged, when it's fragmented, it's impossible to make it to our destination, to make it to the other side. Now, time waits for no one. We understand that. And there are no Peter Pans in the world. That if you are 18 now, you'll be 25 later. If you're 25 now, sure, as you take your next breath, you turn around and you're 35. If you're 35, before you can blink, you'll be 49 or 50, and so on and so forth. But I want to just talk about as far as what keeps us where we are as we move into adulthood. And just as the author pointed out, that during the developmental stage of adolescence, it's very important for them to try on different selves, to just get a sense of who they are, their identity. That is very important in life. Because if you don't know who you are, you won't know where you are to go and why you are here in the first place, to accomplish your purpose. So identity is linked to purpose. Identity is linked to assignments and missions. Identity is linked to your own personal and my own personal vision statement and mission statement for life. So it's all anchored and rooted in who we are, not by what you do. I could care less about your job. I could care less about your financial status, your portfolio, your inheritance that you have, your stock options, your possessions, your foreign cars. Your identity is not rooted in things that are outward, but that thing that is inward, which is of more intrinsic value and substance. And that's something that must be taught and caught. So the adolescent during this time of searching out who they are, they're no longer a child, and they're caught between being a child and an adult. It kind of reminds me of Apostle Paul says, when I was a child, I thought as a child, I understood as a child, I spoke as a child, I processed things as a child. But when I became a man, I began to put away those childish things because I can't take them into my adulthood on this adolescent bridge. So even though it's damaged, I have to do some repair. I have to figure out who I am now so that when I step into that new municipality of manhood or womanhood, I won't be taking the baggages of all of these selves of trying to become something that I'm not, or trying to meet others' expectations of who they think that I am, and they don't even know themselves, let alone me. Or trying to undo the mistakes that I made in my past, or the injustices that were meted out to me, the adversities that I had to endure, all the balls that I dropped in the process. But it was just an act of life. It was a fact of life that has very little to do on my identity, but more to the sharpening of my character. So if we don't figure these things out on this bridge to become a better us through these adolescent years, we'll begin to walk into our adult years with so many different selves. That's not us. And it's interesting that Michelle Martin said that during the times of adolescence is a time of a developmental cognitive processing of coming up with a conclusion of our identity, which we understand is so important, and also one's own autonomy, which is freedom. Freedom, what do you mean? Freedom for what? Freedom to be me. Freedom to identify who I am as opposed to who others think I am or want me to be. Freedom to be who I am despite the mistakes I have made in my past. Freedom to allow myself to break free from the bonds and the fetters and the chains that hold me hostage and incarcerate me from walking into my purpose, so I won't be bound by public perception and opinion of who they think I am, because I know who I am and whose I am. So when we begin to do some repair on that bridge, we'll begin to find that many of us, if we're truthful and honest, many of us are in our adulthood, smack dab in our adulthood, dealing with adolescent challenges, haunted by the perception of who we thought we were or trying to become, that is not God's will for our life because it doesn't bring us autonomy. It doesn't bring us freedom to be who we are. There are many of you that may be struggling right now, be it different traumas that you have endured in your life. We can go down a whole list. You know how pastors say they'll start preaching and go down the whole list, and maybe it was a divorce, and maybe it was he left you, so regardless of what you've gone through in your life, I trip myself out sometimes. That you are not defined by what you have gone through, but what you go through to get to. And all of those things were nothing more than vehicles of character development to develop us. There are people that will remember you from back then or think that they know you or looking at you sideways because of they remember this or somebody told them that. And you know what? We don't have time to worry about these fools. Man, time is of the essence. I mean, time is moving at warp speed. It seems like that it was only a couple of months ago that we were saying Happy New Year to each other. Now we are entering into the last trimester of the entire year. And not only are old folks saying, my God, time is flying, but I'm hearing 17 and 18-year-olds that are having the same conversations. So there's an acceleration that's taking place in the spirit realm that's manifesting in the physical realm. So we don't have time for diversions and distractions as it relates to people who really don't have any stake in your identity or your autonomy, which is your freedom to be you for the one who created you. You know, Jesus said something profound when he was speaking to Peter. And he says, you know, this side of the book, who do men say that I am? What's the talk of the town? I know that they've accused me of a lot of things. Being the devil is one. Being born out of wedlock. I've come to destroy the law of Moses. That I've come to be adverse to the Pharisees. And in many ways, they're right about that. Who do people say that I am? He asked a very profound question, not that he was truly interested in wanting to get the take of people to self-absorb it within his own self to take on their understanding or perception of who he is to them. But he was curious to see if there was a conflict in who he saw himself to be and knew who he was, as opposed to those who believed the hype. And Peter responded, well, Rabboni, Yeshua, some say that you're John the Baptist, and some say that you are one of the prophets, Elijah, those who have even died, who have come back from the dead. Okay, but who do you say that I am? Well, Rabboni, you're Yeshua HaMashiach. You are the son of the Most High Adonai. You're the son of Yahweh, Elohim. Flesh and blood didn't reveal that to you. You didn't find that on the internet. You didn't find that in a sidebar conversation at the water cooler at your place of employment. You didn't hear that during a dialogue as you left the gym. You didn't see that in a Sunday bulletin. You didn't hear about that on social media. There was only one way that you could have found my true identity that I know to be true, it had to be revealed to you by a higher source than you, which is my Father. And so those who push you to purpose, those who add to your life, are those who not only believe in you, but refuse for you to remain in a state of adolescence when it's time for you to walk in your adulthood. Knowing who you are, identity. Having a sense of autonomy, which is freedom to be who you are, because you know who you are, and that can never be subtracted from you unless you allow it. Those are the people who get it. And those are the people that are truly vested in you. All of those who don't add but subtract, don't multiply but subtract, want to keep you in your past because they don't believe that there is a future in you, are those who have no stake in you. And just like Jesus told the disciples, Yeshua, you knock the dust from your feet as a testimony against them, and you keep it moving. You have no dialogue, you have no conversation, no nothing, because there is no connection here, because time is moving at warp speed, and I must be about my Father's business, and my business is not to waste my time with you. And so I just want to encourage you, because as I begin to read this, I begin to just say, my God, I have been stuck in a place of adolescence in my adulthood. And so God is calling us, and this is the reason why the gospel, when it is preached and when it is taught at high level, that the Holy Spirit will begin to work on our psyche, work on our souls, those places that are damaged because of trauma, because of being rejected and dejected, receiving injustice, abuse and misuse, left for dead, loss and grief, those types of real life issues that damage the bridge of adolescent understanding and cognitive development, that we can walk confidently into our adulthood and to maintain our post in adulthood, to treat everybody right, to love people, to have compassion, to not be driven by what the world says that we need and what we need to drive and what we need to have and all of that, but that we have a sense of identity and we have a understanding of autonomy, which is freedom to be who we are called to be unapologetically. And so I pray that this is a blessing for you, that you are more than your past. You are greater than your past, but your past was so important to get you to your right now so you can walk into that which is before you, which is your future. So I want you to be encouraged. I want you to be encouraged. I want you to walk. I want us to walk into this place of newness and then to embrace it. And as the old folks say, act like you've been here before. Whether it's going to a restaurant, they used to say that, or you go to a particular tourist country or city or state, everybody's taking pictures. Oh, everybody's taking selfies and posing. Act like you've been here before. Act like you've seen that statue before. Act like you've seen that ocean before, that mountain before. that valley before. Act like you've been here before. Well, you deserve to act like you've been here before, even though if you haven't been here. Because when we understand that we are many chapters in one book, we will not allow ourselves to be stuck in one chapter when there's so many different and multiple pages to turn to get us through the entire chapter into another chapter that leads into another chapter, ultimately the end of the book. But the end of the book is not written if you're still breathing and if you're still watching this video. Why are you still stuck in that old chapter when God is calling you to a new beginning? So let's deal with the adolescent trauma. Let's deal with the false sense of identity, of trying to become so many different things for so many different people. Or maybe you hate yourself and you cover it up with shopping sprees. You cover it up with the latest gadgets, with the latest relationships, or with the latest you fill in the blank. But you really haven't come to an understanding of who you are, to have the autonomy and the freedom to love who you are. You can't celebrate what you don't appreciate. Peace and blessings. Love you to life.